Depends on what you call a natural challenge. If you think of what I do in my daily life, almost everything that I do, that's a well-developed skill that I have, did not necessarily exist even 1,000 years ago. Pick up a spoon. Where spoons are a recent invention. Grab that bottle and drink it. Whoever saw a bottle 1,000 years ago?
Right. But the difference between manipulating a physical object, as difficult as it is, and learning to process this code is that I can feel the object.
Right.
It's a relatively stable object in my universe. When I touch it, I feel it. But when I'm looking at a letter, especially a 5-year-old looking at a letter.
But you see you're bringing some magic into it that I won't bring into it. And here's why I'll chop it out. It's absolutely right that you have an incredible facile ability. So now I spend tens of millions, maybe several hundred million practice trials generating a facile representation of phonemic composition of syllables, the sound parts of words that I'm now going to represent by letters, and they're syntaxed. Well, I got a magnificent representation of that. Now I'm coming into that with all of those resources. I got those incredibly stored and powerful and reliable resources in which I'm making all of that ongoing analysis, interpretation. It's all possible. Now, I don't start reading just lickety-split. I have to struggle. Reading is not automatic. I have to relate those letters to those sound parts. And let's start that, and let's spend a year or two, hundreds of thousands of practice trials before I'm really facile at that at all. And now I know what rhymes, what this rhymes and that rhymes. Now I know that this word has these sound parts, this word. I'm creating that reference library. And now I'm creating it, now I'm gradually have another million or so practice trials, and I'm gradually getting it involved in elaborating it into my semantic dictionary, where I'm getting into the real syntactic elaboration and complexities of the real language. And I'm getting into the phrases and sentences, and in other words, this is an incredibly powerful, self-constructed brain.
Virtual reality experience.
Right. I mean, you got it. This does not just pop out of a brain, right? This is a product of massive learning.
100 million of us are not doing this very well.
Yeah, that's right.
And the consequence is a lot of our lives are being harmed.
Absolutely.
And the kind of confusions associated with working these letters into.
I think what we're both saying really is that it's a miracle that it ever happens. It's an incredible human capacity. It's hard won by incredible depth of practice. It's very unsurprising that many people struggle with it. I mean, you wouldn't have to have much of a fault in this machine operating with high speed and this incredible processing efficiency that's required to begin to see somebody be a little slower at it or a lot slower at it. And so therefore, dyslexia in a self-organizing machine of this nature is an expected problem. It's an expected weakness. It should apply very widely.
Yes, and in addition to the underlying sound processing issues we talked about earlier, wouldn't the trouble also be related to the confusion and correspondence between letters and sounds? In that the more time it takes the brain to resolve the ambiguity, the greater the stress on the system to produce the experience of reading.
Make the representation of those sound parts of words a little fuzzy. And now I'm going to slow down the ability. And also, as soon as you do that, I might say you also have a decline in processing efficiency, the ability to hear something and rapidly translate, do anything with it.
Doesn't the same exact argument apply to the fuzziness between letters and sounds?
Absolutely it does.
That's my point.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a technological artifact, not a naturally occurring soundscape variation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, it is in a sense a technological artifact, absolutely.